Hi, do you know what today's thought? I'm recording this the day before you're seeing it, which happens to be 6 days before Donald Trump will take the oath of office to become the 47th President of the United States on January 20th. But of course, Congress, the new Congress, went into session on January 3rd. So they're already in business, and what they're doing this week, starting this week, is interviewing the nominees for all the various positions. Trump has nominated, his cabinet officers and other positions that require Senate confirmation. So they're holding the hearings now, and most of them should go pretty smoothly, but some of them maybe not so smoothly. And one of them that is not going so smoothly is Pete Hegseth, the nominee to be Secretary of Defense. He is testifying right now on Capitol Hill as I am recording this. Now, when I say smoothly, not going smoothly is what I mean is that Democrats are giving him a hard time. It's not, I don't mean that he's flailing or he's in trouble. Actually, the few excerpts I've seen I keep the Business Channel on, but they cut to the hearings every so often, and they show little excerpts. He's handling himself very well. But there's a point, the Democrats went in with a plan to derail his nomination, to prevent him from becoming becoming the Secretary of Defense. And there are a possible, the same problem senators as always, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, who are very, very moderate, so moderate as almost to be Democrats, and they are, Trump can only lose a couple of, I think 3 votes at most, and those are 2 right there where there's a possible problem. And, there's a point that is being missed, and by these Republican senators, the 2 that I just mentioned, but in the House, I don't know if they're missing the point or they get the point and they're deliberately missing it, but he's getting a lot of questions, about his background and treatment of women, yada, 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 all these allegations that were never proven, and he's handling himself very well there. But one of the attacks are, the Democrats especially attacking him on his positions, especially about women women in combat or women in ground combat. And actually, he had a very good answer to that, which is that he's going to make sure that, he said, women can serve in combat, but they have to meet the standards, and he is going to check, and this is common knowledge, it's already known that standards have been lowered in order to get more women into combat, to fill a quota, or just to have more women in combat. And he said he's going to look at that, and he's going to make sure that the standards are the highest, and if women can meet them, they can be in combat. But he mentioned one thing, artillery shells, and you see these men, loading artillery shells into artillery piece. Those each weigh 100 pounds. So maybe some women could lift 1, but to chuck them all day long. And I have some experience, not with artillery shells, but with watermelons. When I was a kid, my father had a fruit market, and I laugh when I go into the supermarket these days and I see these watermelons that are maybe this big. They're like, basketballs, and they're $5 or something. I don't know. I never bought one. It's ridiculous. When I was a kid, my father, his store, the watermelons were this, and they were 8 cents a pound, but they weighed at least 40 pounds, maybe more, 40, 50 pounds. And what happened, these guys somebody would pull up, it was always a white guy driving this flatbed truck, and a bunch of black guys with do-rags. They were the ones who did the actual work, and they would just line up one, side by side, and one would pass the water, toss the watermelon, these giant watermelons off the truck. These guys were strong. I mean, they were, between all of them, like 4 or 5 guys, and there probably wasn't an ounce of fat between all of them. And one guy would chuck the watermelon to the next one, and then to the next one, and the next one. And guess who was at the end of the line in the store who had to catch the watermelons and stack them up on the floor? Was me. little old me. So I can say, well, I mean, these are maybe 40, 50 pounds, but when you have, 50 watermelons coming at you, one every, half a second, that's a lot. And I can imagine 100-pound artillery shells, which was my point, but about the artillery shells. But what I want to get to, well, one thing I'll mention, about there was a woman, I can't remember her name, but she wrote a book on, McDonald, Elizabeth, no, I don't remember her name, but they're about these lowering of standards, and one of them were the men, the soldiers for basic training. They used to run to the training field, to the field to train, and then it was switched to being driven to the field, so no longer having to run to the field. And there was another one, you've probably seen this a lot of times, rappelling down the side of a cliff or something, so you have to hold on to a rope. And I remember reading, these may have changed, this is something I read a while ago, but that they changed it into you'd sit on these little chairs to go down, because women, most women don't have the upper body strength to do that. Some women do, but most don't. And if you're trying to reach a quota, then you have a problem. And that was the point that Hegseth was making, that the women can serve, but the standards are going to be high, and they have to meet the standards, which is fair. But I would also add another thing, though, which they should check. And he spoke about this in the past. I'm alluded to this, that if putting women in combat is discouraging men from joining, that's a problem they have right now, all this wokeness. And I don't know how much of a contributing factor the putting women in ground combat and guys, serving right next to women. I don't know how much that is affecting how much of a factor it is, but it is an undeniable fact that the services, except for the Marines, are having which have high standards, are having trouble with recruitment. The recruitment levels are low. We have a volunteer army, and that's it's not I think I was around for the last time we had to draft. I don't know how they missed me, but they missed me somehow. But then it went to, after the Vietnam War, it went to a volunteer army. So you need people who volunteer, and most of the volunteers, they have traditions going back generations and generations, are white Southern males, and if they don't want to join, then you're going to have a problem. So that is a factor too. If putting women in combat is causing fewer, even if they can meet some standards, if that's causing recruitment problems, then the goal is to win a war. But here is the main point that the Democrats either are missing or they're deliberately avoiding, which is that all these questions about Hegseth's positions, for instance, how he feels about women in combat, it doesn't matter what he thinks. He is there to serve the president and to implement the president's policy. So if Hegseth has a problem with women in combat, then that means that Trump has a problem with women in combat. And that means that if Hegseth somehow did not get nominated and Trump had to pick somebody else, he would pick somebody else with the same views, who would have the same views as the president does, because the Secretary of Defense's job is to implement the policies of the president. So getting back to the Democrats, either they don't realize that, or they do realize that, and they are trying to thwart Trump's agenda, not trying to get somebody who will have the right views or somebody who will faithfully execute the president's views, but so to thwart, to keep Trump from putting his policies into effect. So the idea would be to keep refusing to approve refusing to consent to the nomination of anybody Trump picks, until they get somebody who will reflect the views, implement the views of of liberal congressional Democrats and not that of the president. So that they're up, it's got to be one or the other. It could be both. It could be that some Democrats have the one objective, some Democrats have the other. But that is, and the same thing to those two senators, the Republicans, Murkowski and Collins. Well, anybody Trump picks, he is the president, and his policies are the policies that are going to be implemented by whomever he nominates. That should be so obvious, and I would love, I don't know, I'm not watching the whole hearing, it's going on all day, but I wonder if Hegseth would say that, or if one of the Republican senators would bring that up and say, well, actually, it doesn't matter what your views are because you are going, can you promise that you will faithfully execute the Trump's views, whatever they are? And if Trump wants women in combat, that you will put women in combat, and if Trump does not want women in combat, that you will not put women in combat, that you will do what the president wants you to do. It's that simple, and I wish somebody would ask that question. It would be so obvious, and it would pretty much diffuse the whole situation. If you got a problem with certain of the president's policies on the Pentagon or on the military, take it up with the president. And that's my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Your views are always welcome in the comments section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.